Fallout 3 is the often overlooked 3D Fallout game from 2009 that follows the adventures of the lone wanderer through the rubble of Washington, D.C. If you enjoy nearly black and white landscapes with neon green overlay, this game is for you. Let's dive in and take a look at 12 amazing details in Fallout 3. Spoilers ahead. Number 1. Goldberg Machine. There is an unmarked building near the Jury Street metro station. The building is called Gold Ribbon Grocers, and inside is a Goldberg machine. So you see the gold theme. When you go inside, if you follow the arrows on the floor, you will see a pendulum hit a long row of boxes that will topple like dominoes. That will then trigger a baseball pitching machine that knocks over a bunch of other junk, sets fire to the back of the room, and causes the ceiling to implode at the other end. This is some nice loot you can get right at the start of the game. Some nice weapons and 2 magazines will fall, so be sure to check the shelves because they can get stuck up there. Number 2. Plants. The Fallout universe is known for its apocalyptic terrain. You can find some barren brown shrubbery, but it's otherwise basically an urban desert, mostly free of fertile soil or green plants. In Fallout 3, there are a couple of exceptions to this. The most obvious is the Oasis, where there is a mutated plant man who has taken root and produced a very green forest in the area. Don't ask why the locals don't bother to make some beds out of wood, instead of sleeping on straw on the ground, when they've built multiple other wood structures in the area like gates and canopies and tables. But I digress. Besides some cave fungus, there is at least one other location where you can find fresh plants. If you go to Arlington Cemetery, eternal rest grant unto them, you can find what look like fresh pansy flowers by a couple headstones, growing right out of the dry cracked dirt. Since it's common for someone to place a plant by a headstone, it's plausible that these were deliberately planted instead of growing wild. But who would remember anyone 200 years after the bombs? The only people alive back then would have been someone who's now a ghoul, and there are 2 nearby areas with NPC ghouls. One is at Mama Dolce's, although they are Chinese remnant ghouls, who probably wouldn't have relatives buried locally. The other is at an unmarked ghoul outpost southwest of the cemetery. These are therefore the most likely cemetery visitors, although they will attack you on sight, so they have more respect for the dead than for the living. Number 3. Physics. What's a classic Bethesda game without a loose definition of physics? One of the locations you will come across in the game is the Citadel, where the self-righteous Brotherhood of Steel have set up headquarters. When you first arrive, you might see guys on the roof in a shootout with the Enclave, which can produce some amazing physics if someone on the roof gets killed. Either that, or the Enclave had a super magnet weapon that they never used again. Number 4. Teddy Bear. Also near the Jury Street metro station to the west is a camp of sorts, and you will find some makeshift shopping cart cages with a teddy bear prisoner. But this is a trap. If you examine or try to free the teddy bear, you will be ambushed from behind by none other than a behemoth. This is especially difficult because you may likely find this area early in the game when you don't have much HP or much firepower. So the last thing you need is some sicko behemoth baiting you with a caged teddy bear. But if you play cat and mouse with him long enough to kill him, there's always good loot on these guys. Number 5. Moira. One of the most famous missions in Fallout 3 is working for Moira, the Megaton vendor. She will send you on a variety of suicidal missions and use the data to write a wasteland survival guidebook. Of course, this is the game's method of acclimating new players with the various locations and enemies in the game. But at the end, you get the honor of being the co-author of the book. Later in the game, there is an Easter egg random encounter you can have with an NPC who will talk about a book that helped him feed his family. And it turns out to be the Wasteland Survival Guide, from Megaton Publishing, of course. If you tell him you co-authored the book, you will receive a hearty thank you. Number 6. Liberty Prime NPC. In the big Liberty Prime mission, you will follow the big robot across a bridge while he shoots lasers and condemns communism. A few minutes into the campaign, with missiles and explosions all over the place the whole time, you might hear one of the NPCs in your platoon come to a conclusion and say, "I'm concerned about this area." Quality intel like this really makes you want to join the Enclave. Number 7. The AntAgonizer. When you first arrive to the Canterbury Commons, you will see this standoff between the Mechanist and the AntAgonizer. They both trash-talk each other for a while, and then the Ant Lady sends her ants to attack. The fight between the ants and the other guy's robots is random. Sometimes the ants win, and sometimes the robots win. It's not clear how the AntAgonizer is taming these ants. She is not equipped with ant pheromones, and the game elsewhere says she adopted the persona after reading about the character in a Grognak comic. But since the ants actually obey her, she must either really be the Ant Queen or she is paying them generously in caps. If you talk her out of feuding with the Mechanist, she will give you her costume and leave out the back door of the cave. If you follow her, she will vanish once she reaches a certain spot in the terrain. If you leave the area and use the console to teleport to wherever she is located, it will bring you back to the spot where she disappeared. So either there is something interdimensional going on here, or she turned microscopic like another ant superhero, or Bethesda spawned her underground. Number 8. Open 24 hours. Speaking of AntAgonizer, if you look at this sign on the diner near where you first encountered the AntAgonizer, you will see it says open 24 hours. You might not have to wait around long to find out this consumer fraud vendor isn't honoring the sign. Number 9. Out of bounds. If you're playing on PC, there are a variety of console commands you can put into the game to alter inventory or locked doors, etc. There is a secret trick you can do with the camera. For example, once again in the AntAgonizer tunnels, you can see a tunnel beyond this barricade. If you do some math calculations, you can spawn on the other side of the bars, and you will see that this indoor dungeon level ends here. If you hold F to go into third-person view and move the camera while still holding F and you are out of bounds, you can get a three-dimensional bird's-eye view of the level design. This seems to work on other indoor areas if you use the console to move to an inaccessible spot out of bounds. Number 10. Creature fighting. Normally, when two different creatures of different species encounter each other in the wasteland, they will fight. But look at this encounter between a centaur and a mirelurk. They just mind their own business like two countries, honoring a peace treaty. Conversely, on rare occasions, you can see members of the same species attack each other. Like these two giant ants who suddenly decided to fight to the death. So who knows what kind of argument was going on there. Number 11. Dave. One of the more famous locations in Fallout 3 is the Republic of Dave. They are having an election for the next president, and Dave is confident in his victory. However, if you are sneaky, you can steal the Dave ballots right under his nose after he unlocks the ballot box. What is strange here is there is only one Bob vote, and you heard Dave already count 2 for himself. Yet he still leaves the Republic in shame. With math like that, it's just as well this guy was not in charge of the local economy. There is a bonus detail if you follow Dave for a while. You will see that he eventually gets one hit killed by a Yao guy, or sometimes a Deathclaw. Rest in peace, former president. Number 12. Cracked ceiling. One of the more striking graphic effects in this game from 2009 is light that will spill through some of the cracked ceilings, like this one at Fort Constantine. However, if you fire a missile at the broken ceiling, there is no effect. This is really a testament to whatever construction company made this building 200 years earlier. And those are 12 amazing details in Fallout 3. Thank you for watching. always pursue the truth.